one of the few tricks that I think I have that kind of like stands out is backside feeble grinds, and you're probably thinking, oh Dan, why would you give away the only trick that you're kind of good at? I can front feeble too, so that'll leave me like one trick that's somewhat relevant. But back feeble is probably my second or third most requested trick. I get slappy crook requested a lot, and I get front threes requested a lot. I'll get to both of those. But first things first, with back feebles on ledges, if you're thinking I can feeble a flat bar pretty comfortably, so I should be able to transfer it, I think if you go into a ledge with the mentality of a rail, it might hold you back. So it's better to just think the lock-in's sort of similar. It's like the way that you want to pinch your heel side, but after that, it's completely different. We'll get into that in a minute. Actually, we'll get into it right now because the flat bar right here, I'll show you. So feeble grind on a square rail or round rail is very similar. Pretty much you lock in kind of sideways like this, and then as you lock in, you adjust your body weight on top, and then you pinch this wheel against your board, then you can just kind of sit on it. And usually it's somewhere around this angle. Sometimes people will lock like this, but mostly like this. You go here if you want to pop over, you go here if you want to pop this way, and that's really it. You start on the side and then you shift to the top. With the ledge, it's actually 100% different. With the ledge, you're gonna lock in with your heel side wheel. You really wanna focus on pinching this wheel against the board, but after that, you stay sideways, and your main goal is to ride the inside of this wheel on the top of the ledge, and you wanna focus on keeping this wheel right here rolling. When you feeble, this wheel and this wheel will actually like spin. And that's really where like the secret of it is. Like a lot of people think that they're on the feeble and they're like keeping it in the air or something. Like no, you're here and you have your weight kind of slightly pinched with your front foot here, and your back foot's really hard pinched right here. The best way to figure that pinch out is, I was just playing with it earlier and it feels very similar. So you can stall in a back 50-50, like all the way locked in. And then you just slide as if you're coming in from an axle stall, you slide this out. And then I'll just move my front truck over the coping and then dip down like that. And practice like getting that like pinch right there. And just like learn how to hold that for a couple seconds, because that's pretty much the position that you're gonna be like grinding in. This might sound like something very like OD and like you don't need to do this part, but I swear to you, like it's a weird lock-in to feel. So to play with this so it's not so like foreign when you get into it, I think is actually a pretty good idea. Here, shift, pinch, lock that inner wheel. Try to get that wheel in the air, kicks right out. And this one I really, really highly recommend. If you have no intention of doing it this way, then maybe skip forward in the video. But I'm telling you right now, if you do it this way, it's gonna make it 1,000 times easier when you get there. And that's backside feebles on quarter pipes, because it is the same lean, it is the same pinch. And when I describe getting out of feeble grinds, I always say lean into transition. Even though it's a ledge, I always say your body weight should be over here. Your head should be on this side of the coping, because if you're up here and this wheel touches at any point in time, you're going either on the deck or you're sliding to board slide. So we're gonna go do a couple on the quarter pipe, and you can kind of see my body weight. All right, so feeble grinds on quarter pipes, I see a lot of people try to treat it like a early 50-50, where you kind of ride out like at a slight angle, and then you use the pivot of your truck to kind of throw you a momentum that way. Don't do that. Carve real far, like at like a pretty significant angle, lift up, and then the second you feel that, pinch that wheel, lean hard on this pocket. This wheel, I don't care how tight your trucks are, this wheel needs to be as close to pinched against your board as possible, if not completely pinched against your board. And you're just gonna kind of just sit in it, and then just kind of kick turn out. And I don't even care if you're necessarily landing it, like maybe you're scared of transition and you don't wanna come out of it. It's just a really good place to get a feel for the grinds. If you're gonna learn how to grind this on transition though, I must say that you need a quarter pipe that's not crazy mellow. So this is a 5-foot quarter pipe, or maybe like 5.5, I don't know. No, definitely 5 foot, because I'm 7 foot. So you need it to come, not to vert, but you need it to actually have like a bit of an angle that when you like sit your truck on it, and you're here, you can actually keep this wheel, when you pinch, off of the ramp down here. So the second this wheel starts touching this, it's gonna want to grab. So you need something steep enough that that's not gonna happen. And you can feeble really mellow ramps. Like I dabble with that, but it's like kind of complicated. So if you don't have like a slightly steeper ramp or something, I'd say at least 3.5 foot, you're probably not gonna be able to figure out the grind. So if you're gonna learn this trick, some of the tricks that you do need to be able to do is you need to be able to back 50-50 very comfortably, preferably back 50-50 cross lock, which means when you're in back 50-50, if you're regular, your heel side wheel will be here, and if you're goofy, same thing, just the other way. So if this is your heel side, it's gonna be like that. So basically you want your heel side to be hanging over and your toe side to be locked in toe side, because that's going to be kind of important on holding the pinch. Also, board slides on ledges would definitely help. Feebles on rails, not necessary, which is surprising, but it won't hurt you. A lot of tricks that I teach people involves going really slow and doing a stall. But in all honesty, stalling a backside feeble will be very difficult to make it grind a little bit. But stalling it without trying to make it nudge at all might not be the worst idea to figure out the lock-in. But you don't want to ride like at the same angle that you would if you were trying to grind it. Let me show you what I mean. Sort of, not straight on, but slightly. And sort of aim for that pinch. It's definitely going to stick. You're not going to be able to hit it at this angle and make it grind that way. But making sure that you get that like deep pinch is like, it's pretty... I like grinding backwards. So I would practice doing that. You can practice that on a curb or a really low ledge. This is just going to be the main ledge that I skate today because it's a good ledge. I'll just throw this in there because it might be like a little secret for you. It was actually easier for me to feeble off the end of a ledge to fakie. So basically what would happen was I would lock into the feeble grind and I would start off leaning in the right direction, but just based out of fear or habit of feebling rails, if you're already a rail feebler, I would tend to like start to adjust my body weight up here. And when you do that, it's gonna pull you this way, which kind of naturally makes you wanna go to fakie. Yeah, you can just kind of like fall off the end. And maybe for the last like inch, you might slip the board slide for a second, but I know I'm gonna see it, so slip the board slide, I don't know. Lock into the feeble, lean as far this way as possible, but be ready to slip out to fakie, and maybe that'll be easier for you. It's actually a little bit easier to push feebles if you're leaning like you're front 180ing out. Just the issue is you cannot hold them very long. All right, so feeble to regulars, which in my opinion is the way that you ultimately want to learn it, because if you're stuck going to fakie, well, that's just not really having control of the trick, and you don't want that. So feeble to regular, the easiest way to think about this to make your board not 180 or flip over is when I get into the feeble grind, for the last, I don't know, probably foot is when I start thinking about it, but it doesn't really start happening until the last couple inches, is I'll be in feeble, and then I will try to pinch a heel side back 5-0 on a ledge as hard as I can. If once you get in this position right here, you can just float off the end. You don't have to snap an ollie. You don't even necessarily have to make your tail touch. Just as long as you get to about right there and you're kind of doing like a one-wheel manual, you're pretty safe to go. It's pretty comfy once you learn to sit on the feebles just to do that little lift up. But that lift up very much has to be, my heel is digging in hard, and then I'm lifting up in this pocket. And when you lift up in this pocket, you can see it just naturally brings your board that way. If your foot's way over here, you're not going to be able to get out of it. You have to need your foot about right here, up in that pocket, pinch the 5-0. Don't do it too early. Just kind of lift it up at the last second and just fall off the end. So I'll do one of those. I won't do no exaggerated ollie or anything. I'll just lift up. The next thing that you want to figure out is getting out of it. And the best way to practice getting out of it is what I showed you in the beginning, how you stall an ankle stall, you know, and you shuffle your truck, you dip it. And to get out of this trick, pretty counterintuitive. If you just go to lift up off of this, your wheel is gonna flip your board over. It's just gonna happen. So you have to really focus on, pretend that this is now the tip of your tail and you're doing an ollie, because this right here, this outside pocket where your heel's gonna be, is gonna be what catches the corner to actually pop the ollie. So you need to pop it there. And that's gonna level your board out. That's gonna make your board not flip over. I see so many people try this trick and they go to get out of it and the board does heel flip. And sometimes the board will do this really scary shove it where it like flips really close to underneath them. So definitely focus on this point. And once you get this point down where you keep hitting this, feebles are no longer like a weird Hail Mary dangerous trick. Once you figure this out, you can just get out of it all day. Sometimes it even helps if I'm like really stuck in a feeble grind and I'm leaning the wrong way. I'll almost try to bring it close to back tail to where like I'll come out almost like that. That way this curvature of my tail will sort of straighten my board out and then I'll just kind of fall out. So next, we're gonna practice how to grind this trick. And it's exactly like you would expect. You have to just give that first try that's really scary a go. You're gonna lock in, you're gonna pinch on your heel side, and your body weight needs to be in the scary point. It has to be over into transition. You have to be leaning with your head over like this. You've probably, if you've seen footage on my Instagram of me doing really long feebles around curve ledges and stuff, usually around the 5 foot to 8 foot mark, I'm like this, and it looks really uncomfortable and it looks like I'm doing it wrong, but that's actually how you sit on that trick for a long time. Now the thing is, if you're learning feebles on ledges, you're gonna want a sharp corner. The sharper the corner, the easier it is gonna be to lock your wheel. This thing's rounded, especially if you have rounded out wheels like I do, this is gonna wanna happen. So some side cut wheels, which is what I should probably be riding, but I'm not, and a sharp corner, make this trick 1,000 times easier. All right, I'm gonna do a backside feeble grind. I'm gonna try to like exaggerate where my body weight is and how to ollie out of it a little bit. See how that one started to want to flip over because it was tilting off my wheel, but the second that my tail catches the corner of the ledge, it will level it out. You can just kick turn out, but it sort of makes you nosedive, and it's just not the way to do it. I'll give you an example of that. Your front wheel hits first, pretty high slip out factor, maybe feels less scary at first, but in the long run, you do not want to do them like that. The last thing I'm gonna show you, by far the most difficult, I don't really know a lot of people who play with it like this. To really sit on a feeble grind, you have to constantly be fixing your body weight. So you're gonna get in and you're gonna start leaning this way real hard with your face, you know, over this side of the board as much as you possibly can. But it's gonna get to a point where your board's gonna start to fall all the way out because all your body weight's over here. So what you have to do is you're gonna lock in here, you're gonna be pinching there, and as you feel this happen, you need to take your heel and your pointer toe, your front foot toe, and give it a little nudge to get back a little bit, and then start over from scratch. And it's like a very slight, like kind of like this, readjusting over and over and over again. And it's like, I don't know, it took me a long time to figure out how to like really sit on that thing. And even though sometimes it might look like my board's not really even doing that much, my upper body is constantly like fixing where I'm standing over it. So I'm not gonna do like the longest feeble ever, but I'm gonna sit on a couple like longer feebles, and maybe you can kind of see where my body weight is, how I'm pinching it, and the difference in just grinding the end of a ledge versus like really sitting on it. Cause it feels almost like not a completely different trick, but it's definitely like way harder than like going from grinding a crooked grind to like sitting on a crooked grind. Because when you sit on a crooked grind, you just kind of want to think like slightly backside nose grind pinch and keep my momentum forward. Feeble grind is like, I don't know, you just have to, a lot more body weight adjusting. It's almost like balancing a nose grind, but a little bit more uncomfortable. And I understand that a lot of people will probably ask you about the deck rails and if they help them back feebles. It's, I think, a preference thing. Honestly, when I used to back feeble before I had deck rails, I felt like it was easier for me to hold them more because you have more room to dip. The deck rail makes it so I can only go to this point, but if I didn't have deck rails, I could actually go like a little bit deeper. But that's personal preference. They definitely make a little bit less resistance than your board would. So it's like a give and take. It might slide a little easier, it's just harder to hold. And that's, yeah. Would I say get deck rails to learn this trick? I wouldn't. I would say whatever you're used to, stick to that because you don't want to change up your entire setup for one fucking trick. The other good thing about this trick is the more times you do it in a similar way to crooked grinds, you can eventually build these grooves. And these grooves right here are your best friend. Now, if you have brand new trucks, the first couple of feebles actually feel really good because there's no resistance. But I do think it is easier to sit on a long one with you know, the grooves built in, and you know, you'll develop all sorts of weird grooves the more goofy pinches that you do. If you're trying to take this example and try to transfer it to frontside feeble grinds on ledges, they're actually very, very different, both not just the way that you approach them, the way that you pinch them, but definitely the way that you get out of them. And I'll probably get around to doing a tutorial about that one, even though that one's a little bit more niche and not a lot of people are asking for that trick. I just know it's a trick that not a lot of people do, and I think it'd be fun to see more people doing it. Like Mike Carroll. If you have any other trick suggestions that you would like me to do, or if there's something that you feel like I didn't go over hard enough with the backside feeble, I'll try to respond to as many comments as I possibly can for some like one-on-one advice about that. But yeah, as far as other tutorials, I do want to do more of these master classes. I know I've been getting a ton of requests to do them, but Honestly, they're not as fun for me to film. Like, it's more fun for me to go out and skate with my friends and just document the day. But I know that, you know, the people who watch my videos want tutorials, so I'm gonna do a couple of them definitely this year. Definitely more on top of it, because I think so far I've only done 2. One on round rails and one on kickflips, and both of those videos did really well. So I'll do more for the algorithm. But anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, and Haley filmed this. Subscribe to her too, I guess. I'll put her link in the bio, even though she didn't say anything during the entire video. Right, Haley?
No, I just helped you film it all.
That's my girl. All right.
That's it.
Bye.